Hello everyone, this is Heart of Cards, and today we are bringing a new deck profile based around the card that everyone's hyping about, Outer Entity Azathot. So, this deck is all around getting him out. It's based around the Orcust and the Phantom Knights engine, so let's get into it. So to start off with our Phantom Knights monsters, we're only running one Ancient Cloak and one Silent Boots. Otherwise, they're going to end up being bricks in your hand, and you're going to be running through them anyways. They more or less search themselves out. They go through themselves real quick, and you don't really need more than this. Orcust. For Orcust, you're going to want one Nightmare, one Symbol Skeleton, and one Harp Horror. Now, you could run Brass Bombard just in case you get an Orcus in your hand, but that's kind of annoying sometimes when you have Brass Bombard in your hand and you don't really need it. So, I just went without the Brass Bombard for now. Next, for hand traps, we have 3 Ash Blossom. Now that they're common, everyone's going to be having them, even the new players, and 2 Effect Veilers. I didn't want to make this deck hand trap heavy, otherwise you would be running otherwise you would be getting hands of 5 hand traps, 5 or 6 hand traps, and I don't want that. I want minimal hand traps that are very useful. So I just went for 2 Effect Veilers and 3 Ash. Next, you're going to want your Searchers, and that's going to be Armageddon Knight, just 1 because it's limited, and Dark Grepher, just 1 because it's limited. Now, an easy way to summon Dark Grepher is if you have Orcust Nightmare in your hand. Since it's normally a brick anyways, you can just send it to the graveyard off of Dark Grepher, and start your combo that way. Or you could normal summon Dark Grepher and send something to send a Phantom Knights monster in your hand to the graveyard, as well as a Orcust monster from your deck, more or less starting 2 combos at the same time. Armageddon Knight more or less just sends 1, but I say Dark Grepher is so much better. Next you're going to want Elemental Hero Shadow Mist. I'll kind of get into this a bit later, but it's only because we are running Masked Hero Darklaw, and I think this is going to be a good card, especially for the new meta against Salamangreats, because Salamangreats always special summon themselves from the graveyard and do a bunch of graveyard effects. But Darklaw says whenever a card on your opponent's side of the field goes to the graveyard while this card is on the field, instead banish it. So it more or less just turns their graveyard into a banish, which is amazing because it stops everything except for Thunder Dragons. So you might want to watch out for going against that. Next you're gonna want a Nightmare Corruptor Ibly. Luckily I got this card when it was $19. Now it's up to 35. But this is just to easily summon out your Nightmare Orcust Nightmare, and to get out a Link 2, and to stop your opponent from special summoning. So that's the bad thing about that is that it's kind of bad against Salamangreats, because this Link monsters normally just take one Link or one Cyberse monster, and Nightmare Corruptor Ibly is a Cyberse, so watch out for that. Next you're gonna want, 3 I'm running 3 Mothman and 3 Dogman just because they're the cheapest, and you're probably gonna want 6 to 9 Dangers in this deck. If you can get your hands on, Thunderbird or, a really high-class Danger, then do it, because those are always gonna be the best. But Dogman is also good in this deck because it's, you can discard it off of Dark Grepher to special summon Dark Grepher and continue combos. But otherwise, Dogman brings a subtraction to opponent's attack by 1,000, and Mothman does a draw 1 and discard 1. So that can also start graveyard combos. For moving into spells, you're going to want, these are all the cards I'm using for draw. Draw power, that's Hand Destruction, 3 Allure Darkness, since this is just nothing but dark monsters, and that's about it. That's kind of all you need for draw power, but you could probably find other cards to do. Pot of Greed was in this, I would still do it, but that's banned. I'm thinking not running Pot of Extravagance or Pot of Indulgence, because, or Pot of Desires or Pot of Extravagance, because myself, I just think they're too negative. They have too many drawbacks to them, so I'm just running without them. You're gonna want one Monster Reborn, because you need that in, like, every deck. One Rhoda, since it can search out Armageddon Knight, it can search out Dark Ripper, it can search out any Phantom Knight monster. Two Twin Twisters, mainly for the discard and also for the spell/trap removal. Two Called by the Graves, because those are always good card. Foolish Burial to start combos. For board wipe, I went for Raigeki. You could also do Darkhold, but I think Raigeki is a lot more useful, since it, even if you have monsters on your field, you can still just delete your opponent's board. Next, you're gonna want the stuff that gets out Dark Law. So I'm going for Mass Change 2. You could also use Mass Change since you're running Shadow Mist, but I think Mass Change 2 is much more useful because it goes for any dark monster, or it more or less goes for any dark monster, but it can't go for stuff like Dogman or Orcus Nightmare because those are level 7 and Dogman's only level 6. For my Orcust, I'm also running Orchestrated Babel and Terraforming, so I can search out Babel. But Babel's good because it just makes all Orcus monsters quick effects. So even if your opponent, like DD Crows or Called by the Graves, one of your monsters, especially one of your Orcus monsters, then you can just quick effect use itself to banish before your opponent has a chance to. Then you're going to want the thing that gets out Azathot, which is Rank Up Magic Launch. You only want one because it's kind of a brick in your first hand, because you need something to search off of either of the Phantom Knights. I'm running 2 Gozen Match, just because everything is dark, as I said before. You don't want to run stuff like Rivalry of the Warlords, because it is mainly warrior, but there is also a lot of other stuff. And if you have better traps, something like Evenly Matched or Infinite Impermanence, definitely go for those. I'm also running 1 Solemn Warning, Solemn Judgment, and Solemn Strike, just for the negation of my opponent's turn. I mean, Outer Entity does kind of do the same thing, but if you can't get him out first turn, then go for these. And then for Phantom Knight Spell and Traps, I'm running 1 Fogblade and 1 Brigadine. If you want to, you can throw in another Fogblade just for another target, and just for a good first turn placement, but I'm only running 1 because sometimes it isn't actually that useful, and Shade Brigadine just gives you another monster to do link plays. Moving into the extra deck, we're starting off with, of course, Outer Entity Azathot. I have it as secret rare, and I have a little special casing for it. Then we're gonna do something that most people probably wouldn't expect, but it's just easier for the Rank Up Magic Launch. Dark Rebellion, Exceed Dragon, and if they somehow got rid of Azathot, you have Dark Requiem as a secondary target. I'm also running Time Thief Redoer, mainly because this deck was actually originally Time Thieves, but they didn't really work well with Orcus or Phantom Knights, so I kind of just threw them into this deck because it's a target for Rank Up Magic Launch. Then we have Abyss Dweller, just because Salamagrates are a graveyard-heavy effect deck, and they're going to be coming into meta rather soon, so you might want to watch out for that. Then we have Phantom Knights of Breaksword, just in case you get somehow Ancient Cloak and Silent Boots on the field at the same time, you have something to go into. So that's it for the Exceed monsters. Then for your Link monsters, you're going to want 1 Nightmare Phoenix, Nightmare Cerberus, and Nightmare Mermaid, just because those are like a very good engine in the new meta. Then you're going to want Galatea Orchest Automaton. Because you're running Orchest, you have easy ways of getting into that. And then from that, you are going to go into Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardache, because he's always a good card. In Dark Warrior decks, he's mainly played. Bad thing is he can't be used for link plays. Then you're going to want probably a heavy link monster, but I was lucky enough to pull the Topologic Bomber Dragon off of a Megaton, so that's going to be in like every one of my deck profiles now. And for our last card, it is Masked Hero Darklaw, of course, as I said earlier. So this is going to be like the main card in your deck. You're going to want to try and get to that either as fast as possible, or maybe get out on your opponent's turn, since Mass Change 2 is a quick play spell. So that's it for this deck profile, and I will see you all next time. And remember, have faith in the heart of the cards.